In his speech after being sworn in as Zimbabwe's new president on November 24, Emmerson Mnangagwa stressed the role of the country's land reform farmers in boosting the country's economic recovery. They have excelled recently. Zimbabwe produced more maize in 2017 than was ever grown by white farmers, who have repeatedly been praised for making the country into the breadbasket of Africa. Maize production in 2017 was 2.2 meters tons, the highest in 2 decades. Good rains helped, but even the United States Department of Agriculture said the huge increase in maize production was mainly due to favorable weather conditions and a special program for import substitution, commonly termed as command agriculture. That program was implemented last year by Mnangagwa, when he was vice president. Under the program, land reform farmers signed contracts for a certain number of hectares and agreed to sell at least 5 tons of maize per hectare to the Grain Marketing Board. The government provided seed, fertilizer, and, if needed, tractors and fuel for plowing, and the cost was deducted from the sale price of the maize. Compared to 2011, another good rainfall year, maize production jumped 700,000 tons, more than half of which was due to the Command Agriculture program. Earlier this year, before he was dismissed as vice president, Mnangagwa announced that the program would be expanded for the coming agricultural season, when more good rains are also forecast. The politics of land reform. Robert Mugabe was displaced as president partly by pressure from the war veterans, who he led to victory in Zimbabwe's independence struggle. But they had stood up to him much earlier, in 2000, as I documented in a book on the issue, written with Teresa Smart and Jeanette Mnangagwa, who was recently appointed to the Zimbabwe Land Commission. Mnangagwa was a Liberation War veteran, and as he said in his inauguration speech, dispossession of our ancestral land was the fundamental reason for waging the liberation struggle. As we showed in our research, by 2000 the white farms were mostly underused and the war veterans were fed up with Mugabe's refusal to take them over. They moved against him. In a carefully organized campaign over the Easter weekend that year, 3,000 huge white-owned farms were occupied by 170,000 Zimbabwean families. Mugabe was initially opposed to the move, but when he saw the popularity of the occupation, he reversed his position, and was happy to be blamed for the occupation by the British press and media. The occupation was legalized and small farms were marked out on the land that had been formerly owned by the white farmers. But the new farmers received little support and had to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. It took a decade, and the economic mismanagement and hyperinflation of the 2000s did not help, but the 146,000 smaller farmers with land of 6 hectares saved and reinvested and became highly productive, and created 800,000 jobs. Development economist Ian Schoons points to the way vibrant market towns have grown up around the land reform farms. But a group of 23,000 medium-sized farmers with 1,050 hectares had limited capital to get started and farmed only part of their land. From their limited production, they could not save enough to buy the fertilizer and tractors needed for the larger farms. Mnangagwa's Command Agriculture program was aimed at this group, and credit provided by the program more than doubled their maize production. The other success has been tobacco, with $576 million produced in 2017 mainly by land reform farmers. Clearly, Zimbabwean farmers are willing to work hard, given the land and the opportunity. The compensation question. Mnangagwa has been part of the government since independence, so this is only a change of leadership. Corruption dogged Zimbabwe under Mugabe, but nevertheless, Mnangagwa was already moving to curb it. Participation in the Command Agriculture program was voluntary, but Mnangagwa used the army to check that the agreement